Welcome to the Creatively by Estelle podcast. My name is Estelle Averi and I'm your host. This show is for creative and performing artists, and this is your space to feel creative, to feel inspired and motivated every single week, and to be given tactical tips and tools for you to reach your creative goals and fulfill your purpose as a creative person. You are welcome here. Let's get into the episode. Hi, welcome back to the Creatively by Estelle podcast. I don't know why I just sang that, but it is what it is. I'm so glad that you're here. Oops, sorry, I'm fixing my chair. I'm so glad that you're here and I'm thankful that you're listening today. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope that you listened to the podcast from earlier this week. My interview with Diana Giletti was so good. I love talking to her. She gave so much good insight. She shared her story, which was so inspiring, and then also just shared like so much about creating content and putting yourself out there and being confident in that. And and she gave stories about how she's like had to overcome her own fears and what happened when she did that and the beautiful things that happened because of that. So you're gonna love it. So definitely listen to that one. And honestly, today, before I get into the episode for today, I really want to get to know you more, right? Like I want to see how I can serve you more, how I can bless you more, how I can inspire you, help you more. Like where do you need what do you feel like has helped you from this show? And then how do you want to move forward? What are some things that you want more help with, right? And so because of that, I always say, like, feel free to DM me. I'm at Estelle Averi on Instagram. The link is always in the show notes. Um, and yeah, feel free to always DM me, email me. You could also leave a review, right? Whatever it is that works best for you, because I want to hear back from you. I want to know how you're enjoying it. You could also go to the Facebook page or the Facebook group, which is also always in the show notes, and leave a message there because I want to hear back from you. And one of the ways that or two of the ways that I'm really thinking of trying to give back and serve even more, because I love doing this show and sharing interviews with people and serving as much as I can through this show. But I also want to get to know you more one on one and see like what are some things that you guys need help with, right? And one of the things that I've heard so far is really like, oh, like I'm not creative, right? That's something that I've heard before. Or I've heard that maybe you are doing like maybe you're in one, you're doing this creatively, but then you're also doing this, right? So I think you might be in different places on your creative journey, which is perfect and beautiful and wonderful, but I would like to see if I can help out in any way whatsoever. So I was thinking one way that we could do this is through like free one-on-one coaching calls, right? Like creativity coaching type of thing where we could just get together one-on-one and you could just share like what's going on. Are you trying to figure out what your creative passion is? Or are you trying to narrow it down more, right? Because I've been through that journey of praying and journaling and reflecting and asking questions and talking to people and researching and trying to figure out and really just trying things, right? Putting myself out there and trying to figure out what is my like creative passion, what is the one thing that I really want to sink my teeth into, that I really want to give my all to and focus on, that I feel like God has called me to, and that God has gifted me in. And it took me a lot of time. It took me a long time to figure out, what I really do love now that really drew me. Like, it took me a while to really be drawn back to the performing arts and to be really focused in on musical theater and the performing arts, and really just sharing the love for creativity with other people, right? So I want to help you, right? I want to share, what maybe we can collaborate a little bit. Like if you need help, even if you need help on learning how to collaborate with other creatives, maybe you don't know where to start when it comes to reaching out to people, right? And that's something that I've been able to do a lot through this podcast. I've been able to connect with so many creatives, reaching out to people, and there have been rejections, and then there have been, people who have been like, yeah, I'll come on the show, right? Or people that maybe haven't been on the show, but we were able to connect because I reached out, right? So maybe you need help with that. Whatever it is when it comes to your creative passion and your creative journey, I would love to help you, right? So I can't, I can't do like a ton of calls, so I can't open a ton of spots, but at least a couple people, if you sign up, like I will definitely reach out to you and we can schedule one of those or some of those one-on-one creativity coaching calls. So if you are a creative, you need some help in your creative journey, you're not really sure where to start, you want a bestie, you want a friend to help you out, to be your biggest cheerleader, to coach you, to help you, to bounce ideas off of for like 30 minutes for free, I'm your girl. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes and you're going to be able to sign up there. All you have to do is put in your email and I will reach out to you and we'll figure out what to do there. Okay. So I think that'd be really fun. What do you think? I don't know. I think that'd be cool. Another thing I was thinking is so that's the one thing, that's the one-on-one creativity coaching calls. If that's something that you are like, yes, I'm a creative, I need help with figuring out my creative thing, building confidence to put myself out there, to collaborate with people. I'm not sure how to reach out to people. I'm not sure how to, plan my time or figure out how to do this creative passion that I'm drawn to. Yeah, definitely sign up for that. And let me know if you're interested. And I will absolutely, absolutely, absolutely set up a time for us to do that as much as we can, right? So the other thing that I was thinking if you are like me and your focus is in the performing arts and you know that you love singing and performing, but maybe you hate listening to yourself sing, right? That's something that I've struggled with and I'm like much better at it now, thank God, because I need to listen to myself to, gently, kindly critique myself and keep growing, right? But maybe you don't like doing that quite yet, or you just need some feedback from someone who isn't in your family or a friend, right? You want someone who isn't like so close to you to give you feedback, right? Then let's sing together, right? I would love to do that. Just a free, again, one-on-one free 30-minute sort of singing feedback session, right? So you just sing a song that you're working on and I'll give you some feedback. We can talk about it. We can work on the song together. And that way I'll be able to help you. You'll get something out of it and we're both winners because then I'll have more practice getting to hear you sing, getting to hear someone sing, and really getting to just grow my love for the arts and for singing. So honestly, we're both winning. So with both of these options, I think both of these will help me to get to know you more as an audience member and as a member of this community. I want to get to know you more and what your needs are, and whether you're doing a creativity coaching call with me or singing session, whatever it is, I think I'll be able to figure out, okay, here are some things that people are struggling with. I can, reach out to people who know more about this, get them on the podcast, answer some of your questions, right? Talk about some things that you're struggling with. So I think these would be such cool ways for us to get to know each other more, for me to get to know you more and really make the podcast even better, and also, we get to both have a lot of fun being creative and singing and whatever. So, both of these links, actually, I think I'll just make it one. I believe it'll be one Google sign up sheet will be in the show notes, either a Google sign up sheet or I'll just straight up do a Calendly link. But whatever it is, it won't be in the show notes. So you'll be able to sign up there. And yeah, let's do this. Again, the spots will be limited, so I won't be able to maybe do, a session with every single person who signs up for a while. But so if you want to do it, like absolutely go right now and do it and sign up so that we can get this started because I would love to do this. I think this is fun. If you can think of any other way that you feel like I could serve you better, also, of course, let me know. Let me know. DM me, email me. I'd love to hear from you or leave a review, right? I'd love to hear from you. So, yeah. Okay. Now, without further ado, well, I'm just going to jump into this episode because honestly, we're already on, on the same wavelength. What we've been talking about is basically what I'm going to talk about, right? Which is putting yourself out there, continue to put yourself out there, right? How do you even begin to put yourself out there if you are stuck in fear and you're feeling uncertain? I think the first thing to do is to ask a different question. Instead of saying to yourself, why me? Why should I do this? Who am I to do this? I'm not good enough. I'm not talented enough. This person does this better than me. I don't have this amount of education. I don't have these skills. I haven't had this training, this practice, blah, 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 right? Those are limiting beliefs. Okay. Those are things that we think, that we believe, and that are holding us back from actually stepping into what God has given us to do, what God has put in us to do, whether it's a dream that God's given you, whether it's a creative passion or a creative gifting that you know that you have, but you haven't really been able to step out into it. You haven't really put in the work to grow in it yet. Okay, let's just take a pause, take a breath, and realize that yes, maybe you don't have the training that this other person has, or you haven't had the amount of experience that another person has had in that particular artistic pursuit yet. Okay. That's okay. Everyone has to start somewhere. So I think you need to ask a different question. Instead of asking the question, who am I to do this? How could I possibly be good enough? How could I compare? Why would I even start? Why should I even try? Okay, those were a lot of questions. So it's not just one question. Those were a lot of questions. Okay. But instead of asking those questions, start to ask a different question. Ask, how can I serve? How can I inspire? What if I just tried? What if I just did it? Like, what if? Yes, there could be, you could think of like the worst things that could happen, but say instead, what is the best thing that can happen, right? Who can I inspire just by putting myself out there and beginning to um, post videos of me singing online, right? Who can I inspire if I know that I have this gift? If I just start to work on it, you don't even have to put yourself out there in that way. You can literally just sing a song and like share it with one of your friends and say, hey, I sang this song today and I loved it. What do you think? Right. Or, hey, send it to me, right? If you need someone to send it to me and I'll give you my honest feedback, right? So, like, someone who you know will cheer you on and will be accepting of you, that's an easy place to start. But the fact is that you're starting, and you never know how by you just starting, not only that will give you momentum and you'll be like, oh, okay, that I did that. I got over it. And look, I'm still alive and well. Okay, I can keep going. Not only that, but then you never know how you can inspire other people. You never know how you just being yourself and leaning into those creative gifts that has given you, how that can then inspire and bless other people, right? So, whether you're an artist, maybe you're a writer, maybe you are an actor, and you want to start acting and you're not even sure where to begin, or you know where to begin, you know what you should be doing or could be doing, but you have these limiting beliefs and these questions that are keeping you stuck, like, how could I possibly be good enough? Why would I do this when I don't have all this training, right? Instead of asking that question, okay, what if I just put myself out there? What if I use this as an opportunity, to by auditioning for this, what if I just looked at this audition as an opportunity to just practice acting or to practice singing if it's a voice audition, right? Or whatever it is. What if I just looked at this as an opportunity instead of this scary thing that I could never possibly do, right? Sometimes we put these creative goals on a pedestal, and of course, we look up to them. We want to achieve these goals. We have these big dreams, and that's wonderful. But just starts. I've had episodes where I've said this. I have a whole episode on just starting small. From I think from the first season of the show, and yeah, like you could literally just start with one thing, right? But it all starts with asking a different question. What are the questions that you continue to repeat to yourself, or the phrases that you repeat to yourself? What are the things, when you start to feel that, oh, I'd like to do this, or you see someone doing something and you're like, oh, I love that, like, oh, that'd be so cool to do that, like that'd be so cool to design, graphics like that, like I think I could do that. But then what are some things that you start to say to yourself, right? What are some how are you questioning yourself? Are you questioning yourself in a negative way? And I say question those questions, right? And ask a different question instead. How can I serve? How can I inspire? And what if I did this? What's the best that could happen? What's the best outcome that could be, right? What's the best thing that could come out of this? Once you start asking those questions, you're going to start to feel less closed off and limited and more open and inspired. And you're like, okay, like what if, and what if I just started small doing this thing? So yeah, I think that asking that different question is really, really pertinent to you being able to move forward in your creative gifting and actually just go, right? Go. Stop holding yourself back with wrong thoughts that are not helping anyone, right? Because people are missing out. People are missing out because you're not creating the thing that you should be creating, you know? You never know whose life could could be changed, and that seems very dramatic, but you really never know. You don't know who could be inspired. You don't know who could be impacted, who could be blessed by you fully being who you've been called to be and using your creative gift. So, yeah. Ask a different question. Ask a different question and don't let the wrong questions hold you back and keep you feeling stuck because you're not able to move forward. Because then you're in fear and you're in doubt and you're in all of these things when you could be asking a different question that puts you into the mindset of being inspired and being hopeful, right? And being full of faith that yes, God has given me this creative gift, so I can do something about it if I just start to ask a different question and I start to ask the right question. Okay, so that's just a little pep talk from me to you on this lovely Thursday. So I hope that inspires you. I hope that helps you start asking a different question. Change, you can begin to change your thought patterns. It takes a lot of work. I continue to do it. I continue to do it every single day. Lord knows it's very, very hard and it takes the grace of God. I truly believe that it takes the grace of God, but you can start to do that. You just change the questions and you like ask a different question. Or even like when you hear those negative phrases coming into your mind, into your spirit, challenge them, ask a question instead of, oh, I can never be good enough. Well, what if you just put yourself out there and you just shared it in spite of your fears, in spite of those limiting thoughts, right? And what if it wasn't about you being good enough? What if it was about you just sharing the process and growing as you begin to do whatever it is your creative passion is? What if it wasn't about being good enough? What if it was just about being you and going from there? So, yeah, start to ask a different question. Um, I know this is a lot. This is like a lot of like mindset stuff, but I always say like there's always more to come, right? So I will always be talking more about this and I know there are so many things that I share about every single week and I always like to give like some of the more spiritual, faith-based um insight, but I also like to give like some practical steps on like planning and things like that. And so I try to balance it, but sometimes it's more one than the other. And I definitely would love to dig more into this topic. Again, just let me know. Like if you're like, oh, I like this topic, but I want more like some how-tos or like tactical stuff, like whatever. I would be happy to go into that and like share what I've been doing and what's helped me or what I've learned from other people or from what I've been reading or from what the Bible says, whatever it is. So just let me know. I love your feedback. Once again, if you are interested in growing more as a creative, figuring out your creative focus, or learning how to collaborate with other people, definitely sign up for a free one-on-one creativity coaching session with me. It could be fun, okay? Let's just have fun. And then also if you're into the performing arts and singing, yeah, definitely also sign up for a free singing feedback session with me if you want someone to just give you some feedback and be your cheerleader. That's what I'm here to do. That's what I would love to do. I want to inspire and empower creatives to do their creative work. So, yeah, let's do this. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening. If there's just one thing in this podcast episode today that just touched your heart, inspired you, empowered you, if there's just one thing that you liked, do me a huge favor and share this with someone who you like. Think of one person. I know you have one person who is a creative person who you're like, "Oh yeah, they're creative. Like they need to be inspired or they're just like they need to be inspired today." Send this to them. Just share, right? Share this with them and let's keep building this community of creatives because why not, right? I would love for us to keep building our community of creatives. So share this with them. You could also share this you could screenshot this and share this on your Instagram or Facebook story and tag me. And yeah, I'd love to see that and I would definitely repost that. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you and I hope that you have an amazing day. Talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Creatively by Estelle. I hope you feel encouraged by today's episode as you start this week. And if you have a moment, I would love for you to just share this episode with a friend if you liked it or with someone who you think this could be encouraging to. It would really help this show. Also, if you really loved this episode, if you wouldn't mind going to Apple Podcasts and leaving a review and rating this show, it would really help us reach more people through this show and grow our Creatively community. All right, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. That's what I have been able to do, and really the mindset part is what I've been able to work on myself over the past couple of years, and now I'm actually starting to walk in that towards my creative dreams and goals. So it's so exciting, but we're honestly in this together. So let's get into some midweek motivation. My question to you is, and like my thought right now is, who is missing out on your creative potential? Like who is not getting what they need to get from you because you are for some reason not able to share, or like you're not sharing your gift, right? And I think the first person who's missing out is you, because you're not experiencing that fulfillment that comes with sharing what God has given you and getting to see it bless someone else or inspire someone else or motivate someone else or be of use to someone, right? And like we are fulfilled by serving other people, and we're also fulfilled by using the gifts that God has given us, right? Those are things that can only add to our lives and only help us to live our lives even in more alignment with who God has called us to be, right? And so who is missing out on your creative potential? And one of my favorite people in the Bible is Timothy, and I love 1st and 2nd Timothy because I'm young. I feel like kind of young in this podcasting space and like online space kind of. And I mean, I'm 23, but I feel kind of young in the podcasting space. And it's so easy to like let, for instance, that one thought kind of hold you back. Or it could be any limiting belief that you might have, right? That's limiting you and holding you back from fully going all in and sharing your creative gift. And I think one thing that I love about Timothy is that Paul writes to him in 1st and 2nd Timothy, really reminding him to not let anything hold him back from using the gift that God gave him, which in his case was, preaching and building up the church that he was in, sharing the gospel there. And I think that it's interesting in 1 Timothy 4 verse 12, Paul tells Timothy, don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say and the way you live, in your love, your faith, and your purity. And in verse 13, he says, until I get there, focus on reading the scriptures to the church, encouraging the believers, and teaching them. And it's interesting because Paul doesn't, let Timothy just sit back and not use his gifts, right? He tells him, first of all, don't let that limiting belief of you being young hold you back. That's the first thing. And then the next thing is instead act, right? Instead of letting those limiting beliefs hold you back, act in spite of them, right? Act against them, and instead be an example, right? In the way that you live, in your love, in your faith, in your purity. And then he tells him to use those gifts, right? Reading the scriptures to the church, encouraging them, teaching them, basically use those gifts. And then in Second Timothy, in the next book, Paul tells Timothy to stir up those gifts. He again reminds him to use his gifts. And so it's like, instead of sitting back in those that negative thinking and those negative thought patterns, think about how can I act instead, right? And who is missing out if I don't act, right? If Timothy didn't share the gospel, if Timothy wasn't encouraging people and teaching them, they would have missed out. They would have missed out on his gifting, and they would have missed out on how their lives could have been transformed and changed, right? And maybe you're like, oh, but my gift is like, I just like to paint. Like, oh, I just like to sing. How is that like changing anyone's lives? Okay. It doesn't have to be a specific like ministry in the sense of like teaching the gospel per se, but your creative gift is God. If God gave it to you and you have this gifting, this desire, this passion, it can still be of use, right, to other people, right? It could still be a blessing to people. You can be inspired. You're inspired when you hear music, right? You feel an emotional connection to a show when you see live theater or a movie, right? Or a book that you love, when you read writing that is good and interesting and that draws you in, right? And art tells a story that you can connect with, right? All of these things are important to us when we see other people do it, but then we kind of look down on it in ourselves. We can see other people doing their art and we're like, wow, that's so inspiring. Oh, I love that. Oh, that is blessing me. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love that story. Or, oh, that's so beautiful. I'm so glad that they did that. But then when we see it in ourselves, we look down on it or we don't think it's enough. Absolutely not. We're canceling that. That's canceled. No more of that in 2022. And I want to help you really think of how can I go against that? Who is missing out on my creative potential? Let's go in the opposite direction. Let's act on that creative potential instead.